Our next speaker doesn't need an introduction. Garett Reppenhagen is from Veterans for Peace. He's the executive director. Garett was honorably discharged in 2005, and he served as a sniper captain, I believe, in the military. And Garett, would love to have you guys speak about what Veterans for Peace is up to during the time of U.S. proposing $700 billion budgets.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. It's an honor to be part of the show. First time I'm part of the show. Hopefully, it's not the last. I was not a captain. I was a grunt. I was an enlisted soldier. So I served in the 1st Infantry Division, U.S. Army. It was it was a hell of a time. I was a cavalry scout and part of reconnaissance units, basically. And I served in Kosovo and then ended up going to Iraq for a year in 0405. And, it was through that experience, really through the moral injury that I was incurring, that motivated me to turn against the conflict and turn against all war, really. The perpetration of violence, which resulted in moral injury, is very different than the post-traumatic stress disorder. There's a massive difference, in my opinion. And I could take pills and mitigate the damage from post-traumatic stress disorder at the VA, but they're never going to create a pill that cures the fact that I was betrayed by my nation and by my government, that I was lied to about the myths of who we are as Americans and sent to a conflict based on fraudulent reasons. And I was in Iraq during a turbulent time, 0405. I got there right before Paul Bremer fled the country and gave false sovereignty to the Iraqi people. I was there when Abu Ghraib was exposed, the first Battle of Fallujah when the contractors were hung up from the bridge, the re-election of George W. Bush, the second Battle of Fallujah where we leveled the city, and the first congressional elections were all a time where I was in Iraq fighting and serving as a soldier, doing over 180 sniper missions during that year. It's motivated me to become anti-war. I was the first active duty member of Iraq Veterans Against the War, now About Face Veterans Against the War. And I'm the first now executive director of Veterans for Peace, who's a post 9/11 service member. In fact, right now I'm serving as the executive director while we have the first post 9/11 president of the organization, Adrian Kenny. So there's a real transition, I think, in the veterans peace movement and GI resistance movement. And not to say that we're not extremely excited about the fact that we have a tremendous legacy to stand upon and a great amount of mentors that are continuing to be active every day and involved in protests like the one at Creech Air Force Base that was talked about earlier, and involved in a lot of the campaigns with Code Pink, a strong partner in just about everything that we do. So it's a really, really powerful organization, and it feels at times that the peace movement is quiet and dead, but I see the passionate people every day that are dedicated to this work, and I can tell you that it's very strong and very powerful. So I was asked originally to talk a lot about the things that Carly talked about, and it's almost impossible to fill in any gaps in that immense PowerPoint. Carly's been working in that position in the Divest Invest campaign for a long time, and is an absolute pro, and delivered an incredible presentation on that. But I will tell you some of the other things that we're working on, and we talk about this 50% of our tax dollars going to the quote unquote defense industry. And there's a lot of policy issues that we can work on with that. And I think, defunding the military is a massive effort. There's a lot of other policies that we can work on, changing the AUMF, getting more of our representatives involved in the military spending reduction caucus. A lot of things like that are very concrete and ingrained in kind of moving decision makers. But we also have this massive cultural battle, I think, in the United States and in the world. And we're a culture right now that is addicted to war, that's militarized all the way down to the children, and a lot of that has to change. And we see the white disenfranchisement, white reclamation, destroying this country, the polarization that's destroying this country, where we're moralizing violence domestically, even in our own neighborhoods. And our most vulnerable and marginalized communities are being hurt and devastated by this, and literally living in terror in our own nation. It's got to change, and it's just seems to be a repetitive thing in our country that is not going away, and we got to fight it. And it's absolutely interconnected with the conflicts that we're fighting overseas. I fought in a racist war, and I don't say that lightly. The atrocities that I was allowed to commit as a sniper overseas are only excused because of American exceptionalism, and the atrocities that we commit are only allowed because we're murdering people of color and communities in the global South. And I honestly think that if we're at war with a country of Caucasian people, that more folks would be standing up and opposing these sort of conflicts. But again and again, we fight these unilateral conflicts with people that have the budget of 4 F-34 fighters completely, fighting the entire U.S. military in an opposed resistance to U.S. occupation and honestly, extractive colonialism. So, when we can't change even our own culture and our own society, our own communities, and move away from this racism and this hate, and started excusing things with like nationalism and fear mongering, we're not going to be able to end war overseas. And I think we have to fight that cultural battle as well as while we're fighting the battle within the halls of Washington. I think with Code Pink, I want to give another shout out because a feminist driven movement to fight against war is just about everything that this country needs right now. And there's some good programs that they have coming up to really highlight that effort. But we want to join in that as much as we can with Veterans for Peace. One of the things that we're working on is Reclaim Armistice Day. It's really popular around November 11th, which is supposed to be a Veterans Day, but originally it was Armistice Day. It was a day to remember the end of World War I, the end of conflict, to reflect on the horror of war. Most nations around the world call it Remembrance Day because they want to remember the tragedy and the debacle of what they got into in the horrors of it. And through nationalism within this country, we've perverted that into Veterans Day, and we've only used it to glorify war more, to perpetuate war culture in this country. And we feel that just like changing Columbus Day into Indigenous Peoples Day, we would like municipalities to change officially their Veterans Day back into Armistice Day. And I think it'll be a clear shot against nationalism within small communities all over the country and big cities. If we could take on and reclaim that Armistice Day, that we could root out some of the nationalism that's perpetuating war in this nation and perpetuating racial violence and political violence as well. So, we're working on that. We're hoping by this Veterans Day, we're just about to launch the campaign. By this Veterans Day, we'd like to get 11 cities, 11 towns in America, 11 towns on 11/11. The war in World War I ended on November 11th, on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. And we want 11 cities to participate and take back Armistice Day. Some of the other things that we're working, obviously, the drone issue is a massive thing. Daniel Hale right now is being convicted and being pressured into accepting a guilty plea, basically, and is going to serve jail time for being a whistleblower to trying to protect peace. He's being punished for taking a radical position that he wants peace and less war and killing. It's a shame that our community is a radical community. The position of wanting peace is a radical position in the United States. I mean, that just proves how backwards and how war culturally driven our nation is right now, right? Like how are we the outsiders, and we're the crazy ones? It's a damn shame, really. So we're going to be at Creech. We're going to promote and try to get more Veterans for Peace members out there. It really is a courageous effort, and being out there myself and being in the streets and the blockades and if you block that main gate for 20 minutes before you get arrested, that's 20 minutes people aren't being murdered somewhere else in the world with drone attacks. That's worth it right there in and of itself. So hopefully more people will get out to Nevada and get out to Creech. They call that base the home of the hunters. It's heartbreaking. It's really a heartbreaking. I mean, this is a weapon of terror. People all over the world are afraid of U.S. drone fighters, and we say that it's making the world safer. When all we're doing is encouraging radicalism and extremism all throughout the world and hatred towards America, and we claim that that's a national defense. When we're just making our communities less safe. We're making our nation less safe. We're making the world less safe. Another thing I want to bring up just before I get end here. We also started an initiative called Gamers for Peace. We've been really struggling with our truth and recruiting campaign, trying to figure out what to do, especially in lieu of COVID, when so many schools are being shut out, where we're not able to go in there and speak to them. But we realize the recruiters aren't being able to go in and speak to kids either. So what are the recruiters doing? Right now, they're in multiplayer gaming systems that are playing video games with your children and grandchildren, not in uniform, not needing to declare themselves a military recruiter. Every single branch of the military now has a military occupational specialty, a listed job of a game player recruiter that's now on the internet right now, playing and building relationships with our children to corner them and recruit them in direct message chats to join the military. And they're directing this campaign against all ages of children online playing video games. So we're on there too. We're creating an initiative. We already launched it. It's called Gamers for Peace. We've got a hot logo with a game controller with a peace sign. You can find it on our website, veteransforpeace.org. And we're building a community on Discord. We're live streaming on Twitch. We're building esports teams to directly compete. We're creating peaceful esport teams to directly compete in electronic video games against U.S. military outfits. So imagine the headlines when Veterans for Peace esports teams are beating U.S. Army in video games, and that's written about. But we want to do direct actions online. We want to mess up their recruiting and their events and do obstruction. We want to have great panels. We want to have streaming content where you can see veterans playing video games, talking about their military experience. And we're building a following of not only children in the U.S. and even adults in the U.S., but internationally. People all over the world. We have 8 billion video game players, gamers all over the world. And many of them live in countries that are very opposed to U.S. militarism and do not want to see another child join the U.S. military. So if you want to join our collective, if you're a gamer or you just are interested in checking that out, please check out Gamers for Peace and support that initiative. I think it directly relates maybe to some folks in Silicon Valley and ethics and tech. So it's been a pleasure. I realize I'm out of time, and I hope I can come back sometime and talk to y'all again.
No, we would love to have you back, Garett. Thank you so much. Thanks for all the great work you're doing. It scares the Jesus out of me, knowing the kind of recruiting that's being taken place in schools with, as you said, really children, because you're not even allowed to drink at the age of 18, but you can sign your life away by joining the military. I always thought the age for joining the military should be at least risen to 21 or 25. Would really drop the number of recruits by itself after people have had a chance to live a little.